coming back to the Indian thing, एक कमाल का साला apologetic population है कि अंग्रेज साले they never feel apologetic. Spanish people never feel apologetic. Pakistanis bloody never feel apologetic. ये हिंदुस्तानी जो हैं ये खाली prostrate करते रहते हैं अंग्रेजों के पैर के नीचे.
So, somebody, I think, pointed it out very clearly. I think Swami, he used to say this even when I was a kid. I remember some of my earliest chats with him were sometime back. And this time this is when he was quite anti-BJP. This was when I was like 12, 13 years old. He'd say, there's a genocide coming for Hindus. We just don't see it. What happened to the Jews is going to happen to us. And, we behave exactly like the Jews did before the Holocaust, which is we think we're safe wherever we are. We think we're integrated wherever we are. Nothing's going to happen to us. And, we need to lay low and be model citizens and not react to this kind of crap. And, he was absolutely right. Like, I used to think he was a complete nut job for saying that. Imagine for him to be saying that 30 years back. When none of us saw this coming. But it is. I'm seeing all of this happen, and I know I'll be safe because I'm not out there.
Yeah.
But then, I'm just sitting and thinking about that remaining, the diaspora outside. I don't think they even understand what's in store for them. Because understand, they're too well performing to benefit from any victimhood points. They're going to start getting kicked out of all the white collar jobs, in much the same way that Jews used to keep getting kicked out of jobs every 5 to 6 years in Europe, in pre-industrial Europe. And after that, what's going to happen is the pogroms invariably are going to ensue. You already have online pogroms. And when that is written, when those start, they've already started the online pogroms against Hindus.
Oh, of course.
I think people like Tawdry and Rutgers and Harvard Kennedy School as well, let's not forget what they do. They've created this kind of an environment, which is not very different from what, because ultimately the violent attacks start when you create things like blood libel and the protocols of the elders of Zion.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're basically creating the wellspring for all of these to be justified later. Remember how BLM and Antifa were justified using the privilege narrative. Tomorrow, when BLM or Antifa, specifically anti-Hindu version of it emerges, it will again be justified using narratives that are being put up by all these people, caste, privilege, so on and so forth. And you know what? They deserve it. The diaspora deserve it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether they deserve the freaking, getting murdered or anything, but I do completely buy your point about the sort of lack of organization and the lack of assertion and the overwhelming guilt complex that they have for something that they haven't really done. Like, yeah, the caste system is bad, but the caste system is not colonialism, mass genocide, complete erosion of cultures, and freaking 300 years of slavery. That is not what the caste system is, as bad as it is. So I have no idea where that guilt complex comes from. And, I also heard the argument, Kushal, that this isn't it such a good thing that Rutgers is standing up for free speech? Because eventually this is going to help Hindus. This kind of free speech is going to help Hindus. But the thing is, this is not about free speech.
Standards will change. They will, if the same thing had been done to a Muslim student.
Exactly. Dude, look at this right here. This is from the Daily Caller, okay? Daily Caller says Rutgers caves into leftist demand, backtracks on hosting anti-radicalism speaker. Lisa Daftari, who is a pretty regular on Fox News. And Rutgers cancelled her on-campus speaking event after progressive students protested. So that's your Rutgers free speech.
Leave that aside. You cannot have any mainstream ex-Muslim. Ayan Hirsi Ali has not been called on any mainstream media channel.
Yes, sir.
If you listen to a recent podcast with Joe Rogan,
Yes,
she's
sir.
very clear that nobody's calling me. I'm totally, kind of blacklisted without saying a word. You had Ishan Manji in Canada who was the lesbian ex-Muslim, or I don't think so. She's ex-Muslim. She's not even a Muslim, and they don't accept her. Ishan Manji is not accepted.
Same with there's another one in the US. She's also from India. I've completely missed her name, but she's the only thing she gets invited to is Bill Maher. That's it.
Sham, can I just point out to our viewers something very important?
Yeah.
I just want all our viewers to note how fair I am and how dark.
In case you had forgotten, guys,
Yeah.
In case you
So
had forgotten.
this is a very common trend, Sham. The thing is, how much of it is also related to funding of universities by China and Islamic nations. So yeah, it's a problem. But I think the good thing out of this, Sham, is I believe, at least in the UK, they have awakened. In India also they are, and it was very heartening to see in this entire farmer protest thing that in even organizations like Hindu Forum in Canada, they're also rising up to the occasion.
They took out a 500-car rally in bloody Ground Zero, Brampton. All right, so that does take a little bit of balls.
Big billboards about the vaccine, and they're thanking Narendra Modi. They have billboards in highways. Imagine every Khalistani driving on that highway. It's like, so things are not that bad. I'm actually very happy with what Rutgers did. I think something very good is going to come out of this. What is going to come out of this?
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah.
No, what's going to come out is in 2024, even more Indians will go to the Republicans. I'm guaranteeing you that's going to happen.
It won't. Do you know what? I see this with my own family, boss. Not one member of my family voted for Trump. And they don't care what's happening. They think they're in an insulated bubble.
But do you think that's the case with just your family? That's the example of one family.
It's both sides of my family. It's the Bong-Kayast side, and it's actually all three sides of my family. In fact, surprise, surprise. It's the Bong-Kayast side. It's the Tamil Dalit side from the stepfather's side of the family. And my mom's Tambram side. They are all so fiercely Democrat. And, they're like, oh, yeah, Republicans are so racist and this and that. They're still not woken up. Do you know why? Because if I go stay with them, it doesn't matter if they're Dalit, Brahmin, Bong-Kayast. They all live in very, very expensive condos. Villas, what we call villas out here, big gardens and whatnot. So every one of them has swimming pools. Every one of them drives these fancy German cars or British cars. That is what you have out there. They are in an insulated little bubble. Right? They think, these things will only affect the other classes. They won't affect our class of people. And they don't realize that how wrong they are. Because remember, when they graduated from college, nothing really happened to them.
Yeah.
They benefited from an America that was open to all on meritocracy.
Do you think that's part?
This happened?
Do you think part of the reason is because the Republicans, and this is a question to both of you, do you think that part of the reason is because the Republicans in the United States tend to be a lot more religiously radical than the Tories in Britain? So the Hindus feel a lot more comfortable with the Tories than they would with Republicans. Do you think
that is part of the reason, Sham? That is part of the reason. That is not the reason in totality.
Right.
Republicans were in their own silos, and now they've started reaching out. I still maintain. So there's going to be a divide in the Indian diaspora, people of Indian origin. So there are two kinds of American citizens in the United States, right? Primarily are people, maybe of the category of my wife, right? Who are born and raised there, I don't know what to confuse desis, right? Who are, right?
Yeah.
And then there are people like,
ABCD.
let's say, like you, who were born and raised in India, but go there and eventually become Americans, right? Now, those people, I see a lot of them going to the Republicans. I'm telling you, because they are more in touch with India and Indian politics and Indian realities.
Yeah.
The ones who are born and raised there, who are not, very much in touch with Indian realities and Indian politics, they will resist to go to the Republican Party. that is going to be the divide. But I have to say, folks like Sagar, I don't know if you guys watch Sagar and
Njati,
I don't know how to Njati, on the hill.
Yeah.
So Sagar's doing some good work. I think a lot of these young kids, there will be a significant chunk of Desis who are going to watch Sagar, and these things take time. Look, what was happening in UK, let's say a decade ago.
Yeah, dude, that's the point that I'm trying to make. Yeah,
so it takes time, right? It eventually boils down to that, because look,
what happened in the UK a decade back, Kushal?
Yeah,
they were going to
Abhijit,
the
just
Labour
look
Party.
No. What I'm saying is, Abhijit, just look at what happened in a decade ago in India. Like a decade ago, India may, whatever the Hindu side, whatever their state was, it was pretty terrible. Like in 2010, it was a pretty terrible state for like Hindus in general. But things change. So I mean, you don't see that happening at all in the United States, like any kind of change.
And can we discuss how this changed? Let's also be clear that the Hindu revival and what is going to happen in Bengal with the BJP wave is driven not by the caste Hindus. It's driven by the SCs and STs. There is a renewal of their faith in Hinduism.
Fair.
In spite of all the shit that we've put them through over the last 1,000 years.
That's fair.
Again, like they were the ones fighting the Muslims when we were sitting and sucking Turkish ass and cohabiting with the invader and basically serving the invader like we served the domestic. They were the ones fighting those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are the ones again fighting. And guess what we did to them? We introduced things like untouchability because of what those Turkish invaders did to those people. If the Turks were killing them, we pushed them down even further. Okay, so you want to take a micro span of the last 10 years. Remember, it is the same people on whose backs, the SC and ST community, who are doing the Dharma Raksha.
That's totally
not the bloody Brahmin bastards.
Yeah.
Right? अरे और क्या है?
अब पहले एनआरआई से गालियां पड़ती थी, अब ब्राह्मण कम्युनिटी से भी गालियां पड़ेगी.
No, but it's the truth.
It is true. It is true. No, I'm not making light of that. It is true.
That it was the SCs and STs who kept India Hindu.
Yes.
And they faced double oppression both from the invaders and from us.
Yeah.
And then you have chutiyas on bloody Twitter who's saying, Jati, Varna, ne, ye sab ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai. What the hell, man?
Bas, ban gaya meme, beta.
Like, and this is where you are not going to see that happen abroad. Do you know why? Because the demographic of those going abroad is fundamentally the upper creamy layer of the caste system who have no interest in changing the thing.
Yeah.
I think even in Britain, when you look at it, when you look at the consolidation, you will see it is mostly the Ugandan Indians who did it. It wasn't the Indian Indians.
But do you think that these kinds of events, events where Hindus are particularly, specifically singled out, they're specifically attacked, it's completely hypocritical. I understand. Look, there's a very strong coterie of like completely self-hating, completely like apologetic Hindus, whose minds it is going to be very, very difficult to change. I completely understand that. But at the same time,
to scare a Hindu.
Yeah.
The Hindu, like, Mohan, I'm not saying this, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who mostly 99.99% of what he said was really dumb, but even a moron like that can once in a blue moon come up with something very intelligent and interesting.
Yeah.
He said the Muslim is fundamentally a bully and the Hindu is fundamentally a coward.